Hi, it's Nikki here from Happy Hormones for Life. And on International Women's Day, I wanted to talk a little bit about a subject that I've been speaking about in the last couple of days, actually. It's menopause in the workplace. Growing area of interest to a lot of companies and employees. And I've been speaking at the Health and Wellbeing Conference at Work conference up in Birmingham yesterday and the day before, where the level of interest in this topic is really growing. And I've been going to that conference for the last few years, and it's never been a better time to talk about menopause. The interest is really growing, and that's because the demand is actually there. The topic is opening up where it used to be very taboo. It used to be a little bit embarrassing talking about your hormones, but now it's in the media more. Celebrities are talking about their menopause experiences, and I think that's giving women the confidence to open up a little bit. Now, it's still a big taboo in a lot of industries. So I spoke to a lot of women in male-dominated industries where they felt that they really couldn't open up to their managers or even their colleagues. And one lady was saying, every time she had a hot flush, it was just a big laughing matter. It's just a joke. And she said it felt far from a joke to her, obviously. This is a very big growing problem. So it's estimated that there are over 5 million women working in the UK that are aged between 40 and 55. And those suffering from menopause symptoms can reach around about 80% of that number. So it's a huge number of women. And we know as well that the government have issued a recent report to say that women aged 50 and over are the fastest growing group of workers in the British economy. So this issue is not going away. And I'm really glad that it's getting more attention, because this is a really, like I said, a huge issue, and it affects a huge amount of women. And so far, they've had very little support, and they've really just felt like that there is no option but just to get on with it. Recent research from Nottingham University, this is really interesting actually, because there isn't much research around, but the research that has been done, they surveyed over 900 women aged between 45 and 55 in the workplace, and 40% of them said their work was suffering. Only 25% had managed to discuss it with their line manager for whatever reason. 53% had said they had no control over their environment, and 40% were not able to negotiate their working hours. And the study said that appropriate support from employers is essential. It's likely to reduce the risk of stress, help maintain performance, enhance employee loyalty, and facilitate continued participation in the workplace. And this is early research, but more and more research is coming out with similar findings. And it really is that menopause has really been ignored in the workplace. So there are now policies on mental health, stress, even pregnancy, obviously maternity leave, etc. But when a woman reaches over 40, the support seems to kind of just dry up. There's also a very large lack of awareness among women themselves about what's going on. So they don't realise that they're on the way to menopause. And I've talked about this before, that menopause is a tricky word, because everyone perceives that it happens in your 50s. And we know that I talk about this a lot, but the peri-menopausal journey starts from around 35, and you may find that symptoms really don't show up until your 40s, but your hormones are changing from the age of 35. So for many women, the perception is that they're too young, or maybe it's just that they're too stressed, or whatever, and they don't realise actually that it's even their hormones. And that came up in a survey that Nuffield Health did of over 3,000 women of this age group. Do you know what? Half of them said they were depressed. More than a third said they were suffering anxiety, and over 2/3 said they felt unsupported at work. 1 in 10 having considered leaving their jobs. So, this is a huge resource of female talent that we're potentially losing or not getting or not reaching their potential. So I spoke to a lot of women over the 2 days at the conference who felt the same, but they felt that there wasn't enough support around, they weren't taken seriously, and that their jobs were suffering. They weren't able to focus, they felt tired, they were having more and more absence due to feeling exhausted or haven't been able to sleep very well, or they had bad PMS, or they were just anxious and depressed. And this was backed up by a survey in 2014 by the NUT, who found that people who'd taken sick leave due to menopause symptoms, 80% of them hadn't disclosed the real reason. That's because, you know, they really felt that there wasn't any support for them or understanding. They're more, women are more vulnerable to stress at this age as well. We saw that in the Health and Safety Executive Report in 2015, midlife women reported more work-related stress than any other group. And during the perimenopausal years, cortisol is rampant as such, and you are less resilient to stress. Brain fog, memory loss can really hamper your productivity at work and your creativity and your focus and your problem solving. The mood swings can affect your relationships at work. So with your colleagues, you might have been really sociable before, suddenly you can feel isolated and not, you know, a great team player. Your confidence is affected sometimes as well. So symptoms can cause formerly highly competent women to become suddenly insecure or lose confidence in their ability to function at work or lead teams or manage clients. And if you're having embarrassing hot flushes, you're probably less likely to want to participate in meetings or discussions. And you might feel embarrassed about that and unable to ask for support or speak to people. And that can lead to, you know, problems with communications and trust as well. And also there's further risks to companies as well, not just their employee performance, but there's tribunal risks as well. There was a groundbreaking tribunal in 2012 between Merchant and BT, where the tribunal held that sex discrimination had occurred because the employer had failed to treat the menopause in the same way as other medical conditions when doing performance management. So there's no specific legislation around menopause, but there is legislation that requires employers to protect the health and safety of all their employees. So this is going to become more apparent as we go through. It also costs a lot of money to replace a female employee. So if she does leave, you've got to factor that in as well. There was some research that suggests it costs between 6 to 9 months salary on average to replace an employee with recruitment and training costs. But that doesn't take into account, you know, management time for interviewing, you know, that lost female capital, and also any loss of clients that occur as well. So that figure can go through the roof. So solutions, what do we do about it? Well, I'm all about education and empowerment. So educating the female employee herself so that she has control, the knowledge and the tools to be able to manage her own symptoms and get better. So that's all about good nutrition, how to manage stress, because that has a huge impact on hormones, how to sleep better, what kind of exercise to do to support her hormones, the environment she's in, making sure there aren't too many chemicals that are causing havoc, what supplements to take and not take, and also her treatment options, because many women don't realise that there are other options for treatment. It's not just the medical route. And then on the organisational side, it's about educating the organisation, getting them to understand the impact of menopause on not only their employees' performance, but the company in general. So, you know, offering practical support like access to education for the employee, but good nutrition options at work, encouraging movement, so like having standing meetings or, you know, walking meetings or whatever. Flexible working options are really important. The woman has to, you know, if she can get her job done in different time frames and not be restricted to like 9 to 5, that can be really helpful. Stress management at work, so access to mindfulness or meditation or yoga or subsidized versions of that would be great. Providing a support network, so encouraging like open discussions so women can feel like they've got somewhere to go and talk about this stuff. Having environmental control is pretty basic, but being able to have ventilation and temperature control, maybe a desk fan, just, you know, when you're having a hot flash, or access to a quiet room so you can go off and just have a moment to yourself. Cold drinking water. I mean, these are basic things that women need. So for me, it's, you know, this issue is really coming out. Sorry, my phone's pinging, which is fantastic. In an atmosphere where, you know, the women's agenda is really coming out anyway, with the gender pay gap and how to manage claims of discrimination and harassment, and getting women represented on boards. All of these issues are really hot on the political agenda at the moment, and I'm really hoping that menopause at work gets there as well. And I think it is. It's really getting out there now, and it's attracting more attention. But I think as female employees, we need to create that demand. So we really need to put pressure on employers to provide that support, and really do it in a very loving and supportive way. So I will leave you with that. If you do have an employer that's interested in providing a menopause policy and providing menopausal support for women, do tell them that it's not just a 50s thing. It starts, really early 40s, late 30s. And if they see it that way, then it's a massive chunk of the workforce, and they really do need to start thinking about really positive support. So tell them what you need. If you're an employer, ask your female employees what they need, and really get that conversation going. And if you need any help on the practical side of things, on the educational side of things, we're here, and we can come in and talk to your employees anytime. So do get in touch. And that's it for now. Take care. Bye.